And joining me now is former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Mike Mullen, who served under Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama. Good morning to you, Admiral. From what you have seen, do you believe this war is justified and the objectives clear?
Well, Martha, I think the debate about how we got in, when we got in, why we got in will continue. And I'm much more focused now on the fact that we're in and how can we make it come out well. I think the objectives, which have initially been somewhat all over the place, have been reduced down to make sure they can never develop a nuclear weapon, make sure we take out their entire missile capability in a way that it can't be rebuilt for a number of years. I thought the Chairman Kane said the other day, made a good statement the other day about making sure they can't operate outside their borders. We've eliminated their Navy. We've basically eliminated their Air Force. And then is there a possible way now to limit further objectives to be able to end this thing on positive terms? And I think that's the open question. Certainly the discussion of regime change is very much alive at this point in time.
And about regime change, one of the things the administration said, the president said, is he said, rise up and take over. This opposition isn't particularly organized. What do they do? And do you see the IRGC laying down their arms?
One of the data points for me is that often gets overlooked is basically the military IRGC besiege run about 40% of the GDP of that country, and so displacing them from that, I think, is an extraordinarily difficult and challenging and time-consuming objective, specifically. And yes, the Supreme Leader is dead, but I don't think the regime change that we're talking about is represented just by that, because I think the regime is embedded, deep, dedicated, and sees this war as a war of survival for Iran. And survival itself is something that sometimes we don't quite get right. They're going to sacrifice everything they've got in order to make sure that they can survive. And I think they'll draw the war out very specifically. So the regime change that needs to happen is deep, and it's also, at a time in the country it's very vulnerable. But there's a real question as to whether we can generate that. And our track record in Iraq, where we actually chose the leader, in Afghanistan, where we chose the leader, was pretty bad. So it's a very, very difficult undertaking, and I question whether we can really impact that.
And you brought up Iraq and Afghanistan. What lessons did you take with you from those conflicts that apply today?
Well, and I think it's typical almost in any war. Wars expand, objectives change, circumstances come up that you didn't expect. And I worry this has already become a wide regional war. And I worry that without some kind of thoughtful limits on where we're going and how we're going to get there, that it will continue to expand. I mean, it's gone from very local to now involving discussions about Russia's involvement. The president's got a visit with China at the end of this month, which is a huge issue, and China's watching this. So there's an awful lot at play in this war, in addition to just the tragedy associated with those that are dying. Believe me, this is a bad regime. We all wish it had gone away a long time ago. I think that's going to be a challenge in the future, but we need to contain them. We've got friends and allies out there. We've got the economy of the world in great part depending on the open waters at the Straits of Hormuz and how markets react to this. You've got a tourism, economic livelihood in the region that's actually completely stopped right now. So there's an awful lot in play that we can't anticipate, and certainly that was the case in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I worry about this getting drawn out. These wars just don't end quickly, at least they certainly haven't in the last several decades.
So your biggest concern at this point is not necessarily tactical, it's strategic.
No, I'm struck, Martha, with, I look at that 12-day war and how much of their missile inventory was left. I look at the number of targets that I hear publicly, which is over 4,000 targets hit so far, which is an extraordinary number of targets, and yet Iran is still responding. So I don't know how deep their inventory is. I think they want to look as strong as they can. They want to destabilize the region as much as possible. And we will continue, I'm sure, from a military standpoint, to be able to take them out. The objective of keeping them operative only inside their borders is a huge objective, but we're a long way down the line of being able to make that happen. It's not the military aspect of this that I'm concerned about. It's the military objectives in support of an acceptable political outcome that is obviously very much in play and somewhat uncertain right now.
It seems uncertain indeed. Thanks very much for joining us this morning, Admiral.